Okay, for my presentation, I chose the song I Lied to You by Miles Caton from the Sinners movie. My last recording was 34 minutes, so I'm going to talk about a lot, but I'm hoping to go faster this time. Okay. I didn't really have any questions going into this. I just wanted to kind of analyze the themes of the song and then the movie as a whole and how it relates to the things that we've learned in this class. There is going to be a lot of talk about race and racial inequality, so I just wanted to warn everyone about that. So the context. I think that it's really important to remember the context in which you experience the world. I am a white woman in America. I've always lived in America. My family is all American. That does change the way that I experience the world, obviously. White people have historically been kind of the oppressors in America. We've always been in power. We've always been on top. And while that may not have anything to do with me specifically, that does change how other people see me and how I experience the world, just like I said. It's also, I think, really important to educate yourself about history like that. And I really don't think that we ever stop learning. I don't think that you should ever close yourself off to new information, especially whenever it comes to, sensitive topics like that. So whenever I saw this movie, I was in Missouri. Of course, I was born and raised in Louisville, which is a pretty diverse place, but I went to Missouri. That is where I saw this movie. I don't think that there was a single person of color within 20 miles of this movie theater, but I do think that everyone walked out kind of understanding the story and the themes of this movie, and a lot of it was to do with this song that I'm about to talk about, which I think is really cool. And immediately after seeing this movie in Missouri, I went to New Orleans, where I learned a lot about Black history, about the slave trade, about religious oppression that people experienced, and especially about music. New Orleans is such a big city for music, jazz, the blues, all of it. So that was really interesting, especially having just seen this movie, to then go to New Orleans and learn so much about the history of Black people in America. I felt like I really understood more about the movie after having learned all of that. So historically, where this movie takes place, it is Mississippi during the Jim Crow era. So slavery wasn't happening, but segregation absolutely was. And another important historical piece of information is that Irish people were also viewed as second-class citizens to other white people. So while Irish people weren't necessarily, I would not say that they were like outright racist. They didn't necessarily believe in white supremacy the way that other white Americans did. There were about five times as many Irish soldiers in the Union than there were in the Confederacy. So they didn't necessarily believe in white supremacy, but because they were also viewed as second-class citizens, they kind of saw Black people as a sort of competition for white favor in the United States. They were willing to take on jobs that were typically reserved for other Black people, jobs that other white people would not want to take. And so there was not necessarily a peaceful or amicable relationship between those two groups of people. I just want to give a warning that if you've never seen this movie, you should go watch it, but also there's going to be a lot of spoilers, so sorry. The very basic explanation of the plot is there are two twin brothers, Smoke and Stack, that set up a juke joint, which is kind of like a music bar and like a place for games, gambling, like just a place for relaxation for Black people that were living through this period of history. They recruited a lot of people to come work at the bar, notably their cousin Sammy, who is the son of a preacher. He loves music. We'll talk about it. That is his biggest passion. And the movie itself kind of centers around relationships between people, and a lot of the topic of like assimilation versus staying true to yourself and your heritage, which we'll get into. And then there are also vampires. It sounds a little bit silly, but the vampires are actually a metaphor for cultural appropriation, which we'll talk about. So, musically, this song follows the typical format of a blues song. We talked about this a couple weeks ago in the Fossler reading. There's the 12-bar blues format, which this song does feature, and then the lyrics also tell a story. I lied to you, I love the blues. In this reading, we learned that the typical lyrics of a blues song describe like hard work and sorrow, broken relationships, money problems, or other topics, which if I didn't know any better, I would say that the director of this movie literally read the same reading that we did, because there are all of those themes come up in the movie, and this song specifically does talk about a couple of them. So if you are listening to the official like soundtrack, it's around the 1 minute and 50-second mark. We hear an electric guitar. It starts as a typical blues song, but after about 1 minute and 50 seconds, you hear an electric guitar, and then you hear this kind of energetic chanting from a crowd, like not a real ritualistic type of chanting, but more of a, like if you're with your friends in the club and you're like getting hyped up, that kind of sound. There's like beats that are being put on by a DJ, and there's like an African drum. There's even more sounds, but it just is an amalgamation of a bunch of different types of sound, and like kind of historically like cultural music. And we'll watch a little clip of what happens visually in this song.
All right, let's talk expedience versus tonal. Which is better? So if you're thinking about building a home gym,
I've been hearing about this one particular young man.
They call me preacher boy, counting my daddy being the pastor. I wrote this song for him. Something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time. It might hurt you, hope you don't lose your mind. Well, I was just a boy, about 8 years old. He threw me a Bible on that Mississippi road. See, I love you, Papa, you did all you could do. They say the truth hurts, so I lied to you. Yes, I lied to you. I love the blues.
Blues wasn't forced on us like that religion. So he brought this with us from home. It's magic what we do. It's sacred. It's big.
There are legends of people born with the gift of making music so true it can pierce the veil between life and death, conjuring spirits from the past and the future.
Somebody take me in your arms tonight. Somebody take me.
So, with that, you can see visually there is like a DJ with a turntable. There are like people twerking and dancing. There's also a Chinese opera dancer, which we talked about like last week or whatever. And then there's like some traditional African dancers. There's just, and again, like I said, an amalgamation of cultures happening here. It is like a visual representation of what Annie, that female character that gave the monologue, was saying, that music is what brings people together. It can connect people from time and place, just everyone, no matter what, which is kind of, I guess, what this class is all about. And then a little bit of like historical aspect to this music. Of course, it was written in 2024, 2025, but it is meant to mimic that kind of sound. At least the majority of it was meant to mimic that sound from the 20s and 30s. And I think it does a really good job. It was inspired by the works of Robert and Tommy Johnson. They were really notable for being Delta blues musicians. Robert was credited by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as being like the first ever rock star. And Tommy Johnson was really skilled on a guitar, which I imagine inspired the character for Sammy a lot. And there were also real blues musicians on set that they got to work with them. So I think that they did a really good job at staying true to the genre. And then the implications, or the kind of what does this mean historically? I'm going to play a little bit of the speech of the main antagonist, Remick. He is the vampire that kind of is very representative of this theme of cultural appropriation. So I'll play a little bit of what he says just for some context. But not before this Hobby Lobby.
Come find everyday low prices on gifts at Hobby Lobby. Shop kitchen essentials for your favorite chef or
You fellers must be the owners of this establishment.
That's right. And you are?
Name's Remick. This here's Joan and Bert.
By the way, Joan and Bert used to be members of the Klan. That is kind of important to the story. Obviously, this is a group of 3 white people. They were previously members of the Klan before they were turned, and then they no longer have that same kind of ideology. But obviously, this is not a group of people that our main characters are going to want to associate with, no matter what. So.
It's that yellow, right?
Oh, and you. Must be that voice I heard from out here. Oh, it was beautiful.
Goddamn beautiful voice.
Even through these walls.
Where y'all from?
Just down the road.
And how far is that?
North Carolina.
Y'all Klan?
Sir. Well, no, we believe in equality and music. We just came here to play. Spend some money, have a good time. Here, I'll show you. I pick poor, I've been clean. Pick poor, I've been clean. Pick poor,
Just a minute.
I was just about to get good.
Now, I believe you. But this here a juke joint.
Blues music?
We got money and we ready to spend it with y'all.
Sounding damn near perfect, and you're saying we ain't welcome.
No, I'm saying you get down that road, you get back into town. Plenty of white barrel houses down there.
This because we're... All right. How'd she get in?
And that is she here, because she family.
Family. Can't we just, for one night, just all be family? You don't need to do that, sir. We'll be on our way. But we're gonna walk real slow.
Please, pause. Okay. So, as you can hear from him, the vampires have a sort of kind of a hive mind type of thing, but they have this sort of ideology that they want people to join them because they want everyone to just live in peace and harmony, which is obviously not really indicative of the times, clearly, and even based on the people that he recruited first. He got 2 clan members to live with him in this journey to family and unity, which is just, I don't need to talk about how stupid that is for everyone to understand. But I think that this movie, and of course the music in it, describes an experience that so many people of color have. I'll just use the Chow family, for example. They are the Chinese people that you saw in the first clip. They are a good representation of people that come to America to try to find financial freedom or to try to find opportunities, and they have to, leave their family behind or leave their culture behind and assimilate with an American culture to try to, make a life for themselves. And again, spoiler, the guy in that couple, his name is Bo, he kind of gives another visual representation of what that looks like. Remick, the vampire, after he shows up, Bo leaves to go get the car to take him and his wife home, and he does get turned and eaten by the vampires. And that is, I think, just a metaphor for how, people leave everything behind and assume a lot of risk and take a really, really big chance to try to find safety or to try to find a sense of belonging or success, and it doesn't always work out. So each of the characters in this movie falls on this spectrum of assimilating with a new culture or staying true to their heritage. Annie, the woman who gave the speech in the first clip, she is a good example of staying true to herself and her culture. She practices hoodoo, which historically was one of the more dominant religions practiced by African people pre-slave trade. That was then, of course, banned and discouraged after people were brought to America in favor of Christianity. Like Slim says in the first clip, it wasn't, the blues are something that were created by and for Black people. It wasn't forced onto them like religion, like Christianity. And then there's Mary. Mary is that white girl that Annie described as family in the last clip. She does have Black people in her family. I think it was maybe her mother or her grandmother. But she's obviously visually white. So she kind of has this internal turmoil. She doesn't know who she identifies with. She obviously can't fully identify with the Black experience, but she also doesn't really identify with the white people of her time either, because she doesn't believe in the same things that they do, and she kind of has this weird, confusing sense of identity. She doesn't know who she is or where she belongs. That is similar to Sammy's inner turmoil. He doesn't know where he fits in whenever it comes to his family or his passion for music. He obviously is supposed to be this good little Christian boy like his father wants him to be, but he doesn't feel that inside of himself. He has a passion for music. He wants to pursue that instead. And that is where we see a kind of parallel between Sammy's father and Remick. They are obviously not the exact same, but Sammy's father wants him to give up his passion for music and focus more on his religion, whereas Remick embraces his passion for music, but he wants it for himself. He wants Sammy to give up almost like his identity as a black man in the 30s in order to join his little group of vampires that are all living in peace and unity, even though those are people that he never should have been around. And more expanding on that, we didn't see this in any of the clips that I played, but Remick is motivated by this need to connect with his ancestors. That is the main reason that he wants Sammy, because Sammy has this incredible musical talent that is able to connect people and able to bring people together from all places and times. Remick wants to get back to his Irish ancestry. I wrote, he's a hypocrite, because he is. He wants to take Sammy's talent to reconnect with his own people. He wants to take someone else's culture in order to further his own agenda. And again, like we read in the Fossler reading a couple weeks back, that is so historically accurate. White people in the 30s and 40s would listen to the blues and they loved it, but they would take those songs and re-record them and not give any credit to the black people that actually wrote them, which obviously is ridiculous, but that's the truth, and that is what's happening in this movie as well. And then lastly, the way that Sammy does eventually defeat Remick is through a physical representation of his culture. So he starts, this is of course at the end of the movie, Sammy starts by quoting scripture. He taps into that part of himself that he's always struggled with, and he tries to use it to help him out. And Remick does not get fazed by this literally at all, mostly because this is another just piece of history. There was a lot of religious oppression faced by Irish people during this period of history, especially between Irish Catholics and American Protestants. So Remick is well versed in scripture. This does not change him, but eventually Sammy takes the metal part of his guitar and hits Remick over the head with it, which eventually leads to the vampire's defeat. And I think that is, this entire story is just really sad, but kind of beautiful in that the way that Sammy eventually defeats these challenges is by embracing who he is, both aspects of his culture and, his identity. He takes ownership of them in order to defeat the challenges that he's facing. And I know that it's not that simple in real life. It's hard to fight something like cultural appropriation. Someone is taking something from you. It's hard to navigate that, I'm sure. But I do think it's really beautiful and a really good kind of lesson, I guess, that he is taking his culture and he's kind of taking it back. He's embracing it. I think that is kind of one good solution or way to combat cultural appropriation. just taking ownership over your own culture and who you are, and letting people know that it's yours and no one else's. And then lastly, my sources, I just wanted to touch on them a little bit. Of course, the movie. This article by Angela Cruz was a lot of details about cultural appropriation versus appreciation, which was a good resource. The article that I read about how they created the Sinners soundtrack, which, fun fact, the guitar that you see here is a resonator guitar. The one that they used to record the official soundtrack was actually a guitar just like this from 1932. So they were really time accurate, which I thought was cool. The reading that we had in class, this article about Black history in America, again, like I said, I did know a lot about Black history and kind of the cultures that were talked about in this movie, and what influenced the song, but this was a good resource to just learn a little bit more about it. And then lastly, this video, which is actually, it's kind of a review of the movie, but I would really recommend everyone watch it. It is How to Write Intelligent Horror, which is, it talks about how Sinners is so good because it taps into real history, and it talks about like real relevant themes instead of just being kind of a mindless movie like a Friday the 13th or Terrifier, for example. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this influences you to watch this movie because it's really good.